Hello, it's Patrick here from the GarageBandGuide.com. This is the iPad Air 2, not to be confused with the 2019 iPad Air that was released earlier this year. This is the iPad Air 2 from way back in 2014. This is now the oldest model that supports Apple's new iPad operating system, iPadOS. And as such, a lot of people keep asking me, should I get myself one of these, and is it any good for GarageBand? In this video, we'll find out. I picked up this iPad Air 2 for around £130 back when Apple first released the iPadOS public beta to use as a guinea pig of sorts. I didn't fancy installing the beta on my proper iPad Pro 10.5-inch model, so I got this one. It's the base 16GB model with Wi-Fi and cellular, and as you can see, it certainly seems to have seen its fair share of action over the years. Straight away, I have to say, from the moment I factory reset it and installed that initial iPadOS public beta, I was amazed at how snappy it still was, and in day-to-day use situations, this really hasn't changed any. Things like watching YouTube videos, light gaming, social media, and stalking your YouTube competitors' subscriber count, the iPad Air 2 takes it all on the chin like a champ. I mean, there is the odd stutter here and there if a more recent, graphically intensive game is launched, or if there are too many browser tabs open or something, but overall the bang for your buck on offer here is fantastic. It supports split view, there's Touch ID, it has a headphone jack, and it's surprisingly fast for its age. This thing is now nearly 6 years old after all. Enough of that though, what you're really here for is to see how this thing handles recording and editing audio in GarageBand, right? If I open a fresh new GarageBand project, oh yeah, I forgot about that. You can see, despite sometimes taking a few seconds longer than on more recent iPads, GarageBand loads into the sound browser without any issues. Let's load up the default piano sound. Again, it takes a little bit longer, but it does get there. No issues, no lag at all from the iPad Air 2 so far. I'll jump out of here and load up Alchemy, which definitely has some more processor-intensive sounds to push this device a little bit more. Good performance there too, and no stuttering or chug to speak of, really. So far so good, and the story is the same with other touch instruments as well. Right, so all that looks good. Let's head to the drummers and see if we can do any damage there. We'll stick with good old Kyle here. Let's see how the iPad Air 2 handles real-time pattern changes. Okay, I'm genuinely quite surprised at this point. Pattern changes are snappy and there's not a hint of stutter or that the iPad Air 2 is being taxed at all really here. I should point out when I tried this before, there has been a little bit more stutter, a little bit more jitteriness when changing patterns. Just in this instance while recording, everything has been perfect. Okay, let's test out a few live loop grids and see how this machine fares playing back multiple loops at the same time. Okay, well, it does take significantly longer to load a live loop grid than on newer iPads. For example, once they're ready to go, the iPad Air 2 has no issues playing back multiple MIDI and audio loops at the same time or switching between different live loop columns. Good stuff. Time to get some tracks down and see how the iPad Air 2 handles that. I'll record a real audio guitar track and see how that goes as well. I'm using the iRig Pro I/O to do this. It's a fairly simple setup. The guitar to the iRig Pro I/O's jack input, then to the iPad Air 2's lightning port. You know what, let's push this a little bit more. I'll record another guitar track and then slap on one of my favourite audio unit amp sims, Stark from Clevgrind. Stark is notoriously a wee bit of a processor hog. Let's see how the iPad Air 2 does. Well, colour me surprised, that went off without a hitch. I was finally able to push GarageBand on the iPad Air 2 enough to force the dreaded optimizing performance message to show up. I loaded up my track from a few months back that made use of loops and sounds that came with the Prismatica sound pack that was released. The mixed version of the track had a ton of audio unit compressors, reverbs and effects added, which was enough to grind this Air 2 to a halt when I tried loading it up. It took around 4.5 minutes, 4.5 minutes for the optimizing performance message to do its stuff. Once it did, it actually played back pretty smoothly. Again, very, very surprising stuff. So there you have it. Is the iPad Air 2 from 2014 viable as a music making machine in 2019, 2020 and beyond? I think so, as long as you're not looking to max out GarageBand's track count or use multiple instances of processor heavy audio units. You could definitely get away with creating your next world conquering mega hit on one of these bad boys. I'm seriously quite surprised by just how capable this 5-year-old iPad really is when it comes to music production. Having said that, I would definitely recommend going for a 32GB or even 64GB storage option, because damn, 16GB is nowhere near enough storage nowadays. How did we used to live like this? What are your thoughts on the 2014 iPad Air 2? Would you consider using it as your daily driver? Oh Christ, I need a bath after uttering that sentence. As always, I want to know your thoughts. Leave a comment down below and let me know. If you're just getting started with GarageBand on iPad or iPhone, or just want to get a refresh on the basics, you need to check out my beginner's guide, Getting Started with GarageBand. It's a completely free resource that aims to help GarageBand for iOS/iPadOS beginners get to grip with how the app works in a straightforward and easy to understand way. I'll put a link to that down in the description below. I've been Patrick from the GarageBandGuide.com, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.